but that we're at the 1 year mark of COVID. And so last year, this time, I remember we were at worship and we had a meal and the kids were running around, and somebody asked me, well, what do you think we're gonna do, or something like that. And I was like, I don't know, like because I honestly wasn't sure what was going on. And that was the last Saturday that we gathered. And it was jarring in the sense that there was no plan. Like, we didn't say goodbye. We didn't have sort of any awareness of what happened. And so that year mark, we kind of enter into some sharing, and then some vision casting. I think holding that, the reality of that, is really important as we engage in our conversations tonight. So with that said, I'd like to use like the first half an hour to share stories. Remember the time, remember when, to just kind of get us back into that. You know, we're going to start worshiping in person again as of Easter. And so just to take some time to share the stories that come to mind, that bring you joy, that make you laugh when we were all together. And then after that, I have a presentation that I'll go through and save some time for questions, and then we'll be done. And I'm hoping at an hour, because Zoom is not really conducive to more than that. But I am recording this, so if you have to leave early, or if people get here late, or if they're not able to make it, they can watch as well. And just for full transparency, I would love to be able to possibly use some of the stories that you share here of the remember when, remember the time in worship. So if you don't want me to, just start your story by saying, do not use this in worship, and I will not use it. So I'm going to open it up for some story sharing.
I'll start if it's okay, because I've got boys that are antsy. Can everybody hear me? I sometimes have issues on my... Can you guys hear me? Dad, can you hear me?
We hear you with a lot of static for some reason.
Okay. Maybe I'll come back in a little bit then. Sometimes it takes a while to get it off. How about now?
That was still kind of staticky, but we can hear your words. So if you want to just go on, we'll live with it.
All right. Well, sometimes it goes away after a while, so sorry about that. I remember very specifically March 13th last year. It's my dad's birthday, still is. And that was the day I spent $600 at King Supers in the morning and bought soup I'd never touched, and peas that my children never touched, and things like that. And we were sent home from the soup supper that evening at Hope, because it was a late night for me. And, you know, that was when the world stopped. But I remember very specifically the next morning, Stephanie said, we're on. And it was snowy. And we all came in, and it was a really big crowd. And we all stuffed ourselves in this tent, cold as can be, you know, looking at one another of, can we still be near one another? But we shared blankets, and it was just such a comforting feeling in this time where we just had this sense that things were kind of mushroom clouding. And to be in that tent, even though maybe it wasn't the, you know, exactly right thing to do, but it felt exactly right then. So I'll always remember that. My poor dad, I'll always remember it too for his birthday. But that was, everything changed after that, but it was a moment of normalcy and peace for me as a family, and it's a big thank you. I'll remember that.
I remember Bev's cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, amen.
I was just going to say the grilled cheese day that we did grilled cheeses.
Bev, don't change the subject. We're talking about your cinnamon rolls. I'm just
I
kidding.
remember first meeting Greg. He was on crutches at the retreat, and I didn't really know him too well, but it was fascinating what an outdoorsman he was, and I felt so sorry for him for being on crutches.
One of
Greg,
my,
you got more than that, man. Come on. I'm flattered, but I remember digging Greg Gibson's car out of the snow. That was pretty cool. That was a fun time. That was some good team building, some teamwork.
Yeah, it was good. Bev got her cardboard and helped out. I remember that.
You
Absolutely.
played the hero. You were like over on the other side of the fence, and when you decided to come over and like help, that was the moment that we got it out. So you got behind the wheel and put it in reverse, and we'd been struggling, and you played the hero.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
That was just
The
genius.
the grilled cheese were great, weren't they? That was fun.
It did. I was reluctant and it came off really well, and I'm real pleased with how well it came off.
one of my
we did
favorite gatherings.
we did good.
Sorry. One of my favorite gatherings was when we met around the campfire and sat on the logs and sang songs. I
Yeah.
only remember that once, but that was really a fun night. I also thought it was fun when we built the dog park.
One thing that just always comes back, and since it's coming up with Easter again, I think about it again, was the contrast in our pre-COVID sunrise service and our COVID sunrise service, because it was like so symbolic. I mean, our pre-COVID service was like the warmest, mildest, most perfectly timed sunrise, everybody there together, new people. It was just like perfect. I don't think I've ever been in a nicer sunrise than our COVID sunrise service. It was snowing and foggy and people were having tech problems and what. It was still a good experience, but oh my gosh, how different.
I really enjoyed having breakfast over at Murphy Creek when the couple times we've done that. That's been a lot of fun.
I love the dog Christmas pageants.
Yeah.
I remember putting up the new tent with the guys only, and the idea that we'd have a men's club and how that kind of fizzled on us.
That was an efficient use. I don't even know the word, but we put that up pretty quickly amongst us. So
We did.
I think it was an impressive showing and some good teamwork. You just took me off. I'll speak for the boys, but we missed the retreatment. If you guys, they still call it the retreatment. So we're very excited. They're still very excited when that can come back next year.
Hi, Pat Johnson.
Hi.
Good to have you on, even if we don't see you.
Now you don't want to see me.
I do.
Hey,
I
Pat, and
really
anyone
like
else?
sitting around the logs at the land and singing songs that Clyde was playing the guitar, and we were joining together different songs. That was really fun.
Well, I was out there one day when we were trying to get those dripping strips pinned down, and I got down on my knees to do that. When I got through, I decided I might as well pray I can stand back up too, because it was my knees are not that good. So I almost had to pray that Clyde would come over and ask me how I was doing and help me up, but I made it. We're here.
If you were still praying a couple of days later, we'd have come for you, Jerry.
Yeah, I really appreciate knowing that.
I love the fall gatherings where we have literally hundreds of thousands of geese flying over at one time.
We love the nighttime gatherings, whether it's the moon eclipse or the planets that we went up for.
Amen.
Hey, Rick,
Hello, everybody.
we're sharing our stories of favorite memories of the land.
Oh, geez. Let me let me sit on that for a minute. Let me think about it. I have so many.
Well, John,
Good ones. Good
John,
ones,
I
bad
remember
ones.
the grill so much. I'm sorry, I may be talking over somebody, but and I can't remember all the things we've had, but I can tell you I really enjoyed them. I think it was the make your own omelet thing. I really just loved. That was great.
One thing I remember that was fun, and Rick, you made me think of it, is when you brought your mower out, and I forget what we were clearing or something, but the mower that just doesn't give up, and you were, the
Oh,
weeds were
man.
so high, and all the
Yeah,
junk that was.
I remember when we first got started, I mowed that parking lot. That was it. It was probably a good 2.5 feet tall with the weeds, and I had to keep pushing the mower, pulling it back. But yeah, it was much fun. Yeah, so my best parts are thinking about all the pottery that I had building after we put together out there. Me, John, and Clyde putting that shed together. Putting those tents up with the Steve Kennedy's group. Go ahead.
And we appreciate you engaging the little ones to help you. I think Oceanus in particular helped carry some lumber around.
Yeah.
You're the helper.
Yeah, I mean that's. Does he know how to run a drill? You've been helping him run a drill still?
He's learned some good skills from you, Rick.
All right. A lot of it was a photo op. So, but it was a great time. I can't wait to get back to that.
I remember the first few times that we had mice out there, or at least we realized that we were cohabitating with mice. That was pretty exciting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember turning over a hay bale one time and there was a whole little family.
Yeah.
Baby. we didn't know what to do. We were like, oh, we wrecked our little nest and Mama ran away, and we, you know, we were freaking out about these little tiny little, like size of my pinky knuckle, you know, little pink little things. We're like, ah. We're like, that was one of my first sign of like dealing with life out there, and we weren't out there alone. Was dealing with that mice that first few months.
My favorite memory of dealing with life, and this is kind of hard because we've had some great sightings of animals out there. It's really just phenomenal, but I have to say it was during the COVID, but watching the bull snake in the middle of Stephanie's sermon crawl right in front of us and go over and sneak into the platform she was preaching on. If you missed it, that was priceless.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Stephanie, you handled that with very much grace there. Quick thinking.
He must have liked the sermon because he stayed there for the whole thing.
She moved, I think.
Yeah, she decided to move up. She was probably safer on top of it, quite frankly.
He had to report back to the Garden of Eden.
I'm thankful for the opportunity that I had with Randy to go pick up the shelters, because that gave us a couple of really nice weekends together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we appreciate you go out and get that.
It's a nice drive, just a easy drive, and just a lot of beautiful scenery. We went both, one time we went on I-70, and the other way we went down south through the mountain area, and they were just a good time.
I thought it was fun and interesting to go to the trailer park and sing Christmas carols. One of the guy's dogs got loose and his neighbor got mad at us, and we were all like happy to be there, but like not quite certain about our effect on that trailer park.
Yeah, especially when you see people in there watching their television, you start singing, they turn off their television and turn off all their lights and pretend there's nobody.
We loved the Christmas gathering at your place, Bev. That was very special.
We're going to have to work harder on our 12 days of Christmas for this coming year, though.
We did it online this year.
I know, and we didn't do bad, but we'll have to, we'll get it more perfected each year. I enjoyed having you. We had a great time.
I happened to be looking at pictures, trying to find things, and ran across all the pictures of people who came out to improve the garden plots last year. there were times we had even like 10 or 12 people at a time. It was just amazing. And even though it was pretty early spring, some of the days we got were just phenomenal. And I have, I know we injured a lot of people, but they all looked happy at the time in the picture.
Well, I remember that Saturday that Allison referred to, and Clyde can attest to this, how nervous I was and how I got there early, and Clyde got there early with me. And do you want to tell the story, Clyde?
I want you to tell it.
And I was like, I wiped chairs down and I put them really far away, and just really trying. I told Clyde, I was like, I don't think that many people are going to come, so we'll be okay. And then people just kept coming. And I was like, oh my gosh, like and because it was cold, we had the walls down, so people were like crammed in a bag together. I was just like,
and what's worse is that she'd planned this and decided we were going to try it. And I don't know if you remember this, but the night before, the bishop puts out and said, don't meet, everybody stop. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's a little late now. And I remember, because we started and she had said, I forget, like 10 people or something. By the time we got done, we had 26 people that came, which was the largest attendance we had for any non-special thing. I mean, we didn't announce, oh, here's a special event. It was like incredible.
Clyde and I had fun the day we got to haul manure. Didn't we, Clyde?
Yes, we did. Oh man, I found out Bev's a farm girl at heart. Oh my gosh.
We went out where all the bulls were. I think they said they had 101 of them.
Yeah, it's the artificial breeding place out
Yeah.
just past the land on 70. I said
It was an interesting and a fun day.
yeah, it was really fun, yeah, and hard too.
Yeah.
That video by that guy on that farm when he was in his tractor and he was telling us all about farming, I thought that was really informative and kind of fun to remember about.
His name was Justin.
Justin?
Yeah.
Oh, that composting event that we had over at that Adonis, is that the subdivision? That was a neat event.
Hope, I wish I had a picture of you and Lucky together when you were down hugging. It was so pretty. I just like, oh my gosh, I want to cut that right out and take it as a portrait.
well, thanks everyone. I just wanted to share some time of just remembering life before COVID and even some of our gatherings during it. I hope that we can kind of continue to do that and kind of, I think, center ourselves in that mindset of the joy and fun and silliness and insanity that have gotten us this far. After the snow bomb cyclone 2 years ago, I remember driving over the hill and I had told Fiona, well, I think I'm worried. I said something like, I'm worried that the tent is going to be like damaged, and we're getting there and we don't see the tent like at all. It was like I had thought there'd be a tear or something like that, and the whole thing was like twisted down, and it was perfect because I think if it had just been a little tear, I would have been actually more upset than the hilariousness of the fact that it actually twisted the bar that was this thick all the way down. And then the beauty of everyone gathering, it was cold, windy, no tent, no heater, sitting on hay bales, sharing communion together. I mean, so I feel like those memories, I hope give us just the knowledge that we've been through a lot before and we'll go through a lot again, but that we have what it takes, you know, to love each other through whatever we face. So thank you. Well, in honor of Clyde, who always makes fabulous PowerPoints, I made a PowerPoint tonight. It's not as fabulous as Clyde's, but I think it's pretty good still. Clyde, you'll have to send me an email and say how my PowerPoint is. All right, so now the task is to share my screen. Okay, here we go. All right, can everyone see that?
Yep.
So this isn't going to take very long, she said. 12 hours later, no, I'm joking. So I wanted to open with this poem by Mary Oliver, and some of you may have heard it before, but the poem just reads, and I have to move you all so I can read this. Here we go. I have refused to live locked in the orderly house of reasons and proofs. The world I live in and believe in is wider than that. And anyway, what's wrong with maybe? You wouldn't believe what once or twice I have seen. I'll just tell you this. Only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one. And these words just give me hope for the work that we've done and the work that lies ahead, particularly the line, and anyway, what's wrong with maybe? So I want to start with, I have to keep moving you, sorry. I want to start with what I presented to the board of directors last June to, interestingly enough, ground us in some pretty big patterns of change. And I'll go into that. None of this is going to be a surprise to anyone. It's really just a recap for, you know, kicking back up with in-person gatherings. So when I was reading over some of this stuff, I was like, oh yeah, I knew that, but I forgot because it's been so crazy lately. But in June, we had, you know, when we began in 2018, we had a strong emphasis on food, faith, and farming. And that was really attached to our site plan. And when we discovered initially that we didn't have the money to really even begin our site plan responsibly, I felt as though the best thing to do would be to broaden our focus and our mission. And that's sort of when we made the transition to connecting with and caring for creation. And it's really blossomed. And so last June, under that mission of connecting with and caring for creation, I offered to the board these 4 focus areas to just structure our work a little, but also to give us flexibility to be able to respond to where the Spirit was leading, and also just the reality that we found ourselves in. So those you can see are redefine worship, feed people, conserve prairie, and share space. And so I literally copied and pasted these out from the June document. So when we go through them, some of them you'll see, oh, we did that, or we're doing that. It's a nice continuity, even in the midst of so much change, to see that we're still doing things that are aligned with our mission and vision. So ultimately, redefining worship is just who we are. I don't know if there's a possibility to not do that out on the prairie, but really to just expand the definitions of worship, including opportunities for shared leadership according to one's gifts and call, and then to integrate ecological practices into sacred rituals, which we do, the offering of compost, the harvesting and sharing of the produce, the electric bulletins, and then the intentional times of reflection on the land kind of all fall into that category. Feed people is probably one of our biggest focuses, especially right now. We're gearing up for the garden. And so if we just skip down, I separated the categories into how this focus area would affect programming and how it would affect property. And let's just go down to where property in item B. So it says garden plots lining the pedestrian pathway from the current part to the end of the pathway toward the canopy structure. So this is a great example of something that sounded good, or at least partially good on paper, and then in reality was like, that is not a good idea. It made no sense for the irrigation system, but also I think Clyde would vouch for me when I say we have our hands full with the gardens that we have. And we've, I believe, over doubled our size of garden for this year, and have formed a partnership with a local food bank. And so we'll be giving them the produce and utilizing that for, shared experiences in worship. Last year we had snap peas for communion, but our ultimate goal is to connect people with the Christ in creation through gardening and then sharing those gifts that God gives us. We also had talked about a farm stand at one point located at the entrance of the property. This year, under the category of feeding people, and probably the next 2, maybe even 3 years, our focus is really going to be on getting a handle on creating some institutional practices on how we garden, how we harvest, the relationships with the people that we give food, the volunteers, the youth that are coming out to participate in this mission. So right now, I think we have our hands full with this one, but we're really lucky because we have Clyde, who has been amazing. And we also have amazing volunteers, and our assistant gardener, Gayla, will be back this year. So conserving the prairie is I think is our biggest growing edge. Ultimately, we want to use conservation efforts of the prairie ecosystem to educate children, youth, and neighbors. And so this is just a huge learning for me. In seminary, they didn't teach us a lot of stuff, but this was one of them on the list. They didn't talk about the prairie ecosystem. And so we had talked about, in the property development team a few years ago now, about just focusing on beautification of the property in ways that restore the prairie ecosystem. And these were some of our brainstorms around that continue to come back up in different ways. So as we talk about ways to live with the prairie dogs, we've talked about bird houses and raptor perches. And so a lot of these things remain but evolve in their implementation. The shared space is obviously the largest one. And this also is evolving, but the programming idea was to market property for memorial services, weddings, and small gatherings. And so I think at the heart of sharing space, for me at least, is not, at the heart of it, it's not to generate revenue, but it's to share the experience of having a sacred space that holds you in a time of brokenness. And that's just been a key, that's been a characteristic of the land for each and every one of us, whether that's been through memorial services or worship gatherings, and just to extend that invitation to people who maybe don't feel comfortable in a church, but still are seeking a spiritual connection in a time of loss or grief. And so we had some property items that we had looked at, and these aren't reflective of commitments, these are reflective of conversations. We truly have a lot of our work on the property development team, rightfully so, is going towards gardening, going towards maintenance of the property, then things like that plow thing that just showed up in our parking lot. So some of it's, things that we have to take care of. Some of it's things that we've already committed to taking care of. Then when we look at beyond 2021, things that we've talked about, and you've all most likely heard these things, but to create curriculum for summer youth mission groups, to teach children around Dana and Rick have been wonderful at starting this and carrying this on, but the Prairie School doing it in church. But we've talked about expanding that at some point to an after school program. We have a new elementary school right down the street from us. So all of, COVID's really shaken up everything for everyone, and we're part of that. But we have these ongoing conversations and visions around inspiring youth and teaching children. So I don't know if you can see this picture of the prairie dog. Fiona took it. But it reflects to me the practice of emerging. And so when I think back to our the start of our worshiping community, we've just had a lot of big things happen. Some of them have been loss of people that we love in our community. Some of them have been just reality checks, like our site plan, the snow bomb cyclone, and then the COVID that just kind of shut down the world. So in 2 years, we've had a lot of things come our way. But what I think the benefit of that has been is that we've mastered, I will argue, we've mastered the practice of emerging. And that's really like carrying our values, our vision and our mission forward, but then responding to the opportunities that present themselves to implement it. And so I think of like Libby donating the little library, Clea envisioning the Prairie School and getting us started with setting that up. Cece putting the arches up for Clea's memorial service, and then really just digging into the hospitality program. Clyde's passion for the garden and his just really profound ability to bring other people into that work. Steve's leadership with the men's group and the haiku class. Everyone really contributing to the community care packages. Dana's been putting those together over the last few months, but Bev and Cece and other people have been really involved in those. And then John's work with the website, he just is on it all the time. He gets things done right away. I know that I ask for things that make no sense or that I don't even know what I'm asking for, and he very rarely yells at me. But then the most recent thing that was so cool is I posted on Facebook that I was really frustrated with we couldn't put dogs in the church management system. And he fixed that. So now now everyone in the family, if you have a dog or probably even a cat, I can put them in the church management system as part of your family. So bravo to John. We're very thankful for that. I have to move you again, sorry. So as we think about where we've been and moving forward, the reality is that where we go and what we do has been and will be defined by the collective offerings of the land participants. And whatever those offerings are, I believe is exactly what God wants us to look like. That's the definition of enough. So how we share the story of the land, how we share our gifts in leadership, how we share our financial resources, whatever that is absolutely a reflection of where God blesses us and anticipates our arrival. And so this hopefully sets a culture of gratitude for where we are and peace also in the process of who we're becoming. So with telling the story of the land, a couple things that I think are important as we begin to gather back in person, but one of those is claiming ownership in our language. So this is not my community or anyone else's project. It's really all of ours. Like the land is yours, the land is ours, the mail we get is our mail, the checks we get are our checks, the donations we get are our donations. And just beginning to feel empowered to claim that this is our community. And then the staying in the know, whether that's knowing what is going on or having the confidence that the information is available, really pitches the idea that everyone's an insider. I really try my best to be really transparent, to share information, to keep leadership to a certain degree fluid so that people always feel like they have a voice at this point in our life cycle. So John's great with keeping things on the website. I try to send out emails, but if you have questions, you're always welcome to come and ask me. I don't ever want you to feel like something's not your business, or, you know, everyone else knows what's going on and you don't. So just knowing that this is your community and the information that you're curious about is available to you. And then sharing experiences of spiritual connection, growth, or transformation. You've seen I've been publishing people's poems maybe on social media. John will publish, if people write essays or blogs, he'll publish those too. But that's kind of goes back to, this is our community and your voice is important. The message that you have to share is equivalent to the message I share. Like, God's vision for this place, again, is reflected in everyone's voice equally. This is a little bit different maybe than what we're used to in a church structure, but how we share our gifts in leadership, I really, this year especially, prioritizing shared leadership. John and Cece did a beautiful job in the Lenten spiritual practices. And Dana and Rick did a great job of thinking through something for the kids, but I just want more of that. I think that fresh expressions, but also people feeling comfortable to belong out loud, to take up space, to share their gifts, and to encourage other people to do that too, is really probably where my biggest passion is. So it ends up being a reverse recruitment strategy. So in a typical organization, programming is planned, and then we try and like scrounge for volunteers to run that programming. But at the land, and whether we like it or not, this is probably what's going to happen. So we might as well just own it. But participants are going to share their gifts for leadership, and then programming is created as an outlet for that expression. And that's not anything new. That's what's been happening, right? So John makes pancakes and we eat them. Beth makes cinnamon rolls and we eat them. Greg makes grilled cheese and we eat them. There's a pattern here. So to just not only feel welcomed, but to maybe see it as your responsibility even to the community to share your gifts, because you matter, and everybody in this community I have experienced as being very supportive and loving. So well, there are lots of things in the air. Programming over the next year that you can count on does include retreatment. Is that one? Am I saying that right? I already called them and reserved the weekend for 2022, so we will do winter camp again. There are a ton of volunteer opportunities at the land with the garden, and those are starting now. And Clyde is very fun to work with, so I'll just put that pitch in there. And we'll be sending out more specific information after this in emails to make sure everybody's in the loop on what's going on and when. We met as a pandemic programming team, and we're sticking with our weekly worship gathering time at Saturday mornings at 10. We are tossing around opportunities to do things on Sunday nights that are like, you know, the gathering where we sang songs and made s'mores. And we haven't put anything on the calendar, but we definitely see an interest in having something on Sunday afternoons or later afternoons. And so that's still in our conversation. And then you can just see that there are other things that we've just tossed out, and because of COVID, but then also just because of where we're at, they're kind of things that are on the burner, and they might, you know, catch fire and take off, and they might fizzle out. And either way is is really okay. We have permission to experiment and change our mind. So this is kind of the next two pieces are finances and property, and then I'm done. So our current operational budget is $137,000 approximately. And I think we would be able to breathe easier if we got to the place of 160,000. I think that would give us some wiggle room. But again, at $137,000, that's our budget. So the goal is to reach financial sustainability by 2023. And the board and I have been working on a plan with fundraising and revenue ideas to get us there. But if I'm going to be honest, I think one of the things that came out of my leave in January was that if we're going to make this work, it just needs to be the worshiping community in different expressions that believes in it enough to make donations that support it. I worked with a coach over the past 6 months, and they came up with so many ideas to start essentially side businesses. And I just can't do that. And neither can you. Like Clyde and I can't start a CSA. Dana and I can't start an after school program. Like there's lots of possibilities in the things we do, but I think we need to just own that what we do is we're really giving away the generosity of God that we've received as a gift. So the snapshot of our giving is really amazing. It's outstanding. It's phenomenal. In 2019, which was our first fiscal year, we ended at just over $100,000. That's bonkers. That's just, I hope that everybody understands how amazing that is and what an affirmation that is in the work that we're doing. In 2020, we ended the year almost at 90,000 on the books, but that didn't include the PayPal garden fundraiser that we had, so that kicks it up to make it a lot closer to where we were in 2019. But the exciting part is not just in the numbers, but that our contributors and our contributions are going up. So in 2019, you can see we had 79 contributors, 472 contributions, and that's compared to 2020's 99 contributors and 603 contributions. So people are experiencing the community at the land, the mission of the land, and they're communicating through giving that it's valuable. So the trajectory of property development is an ongoing question, and that makes sense. But honestly, right now there are currently no plans to begin our approved site plan. And this is a conversation I've had with the board, and they've been supportive of this. This decision was initially made around finances. We just didn't have the capital funds to get started in a way that made sense. But now the question really has evolved to one of mission and vision. Does our original site plan reflect the path unfolding before us? So my proposal that was accepted and passed by the board in June was to ensure that the site plan as it is now is vested by April of 2023. And that's a deadline set by the city so that we don't lose all of the money we've spent on this approved site plan. But in the meantime, we're gonna set the site plan on the shelf until the land has reached and defined operational sustainability in 2023, which might sound far away, but man, time flies. So at that point, really, when we get to this place where we're sustained by donors and we feel confident about what our future is gonna look like, not if we're gonna have a future, but what the future is gonna look like, I think that that's when we need to begin this conversation around the site plan. And that can begin with making amendments to the site plan according to our vision, mission, values, and programming. So you don't want to lose your site plan because then you'd have to start over. But you can make lots of amendments, which is essentially just changes to your site plan to make it fit where we are financially, to make it fit with what we're doing with programming. So this is something that will be an ongoing conversation that will be unfolding before us. It's not that we're neglecting it, but we're intentionally and strategically placing it after the community is at a point where they feel as though they've defined what it means for them, for us, to be sustainable. So the permanent, this is my last slide, sorry. The permanent property development, now everything we're doing according to the city would be defined as temporary. But the permanent property development decisions will be informed by the land's stated mission of connecting with and caring for creation. And I don't believe that that's something that I'm saying so that it's enforced. It's something that I'm saying because it's happening. And it's a value that's being expressed and held by the community in lots of different ways. The early development on the property serves a spiritual purpose and deepens our connectivity to the Christ present in creation. And then there's just the list of some of the things that you already know are there. But property development is a prime example of the beauty created in the framework of understanding that what we have right now reflects all that has been given. So like everything has a story, right? The little library is from Libby. The trees that are planted around the garden are in honor of Clea. We talked about the story of setting up the tents, the story of the tents falling down, the story of setting the tents up again. Everything has a purpose that's both visible and invisible, but it's also beginning to kind of be the story of our community in a visible way. And when I think about ways to contribute in 2021, the very first thing that comes to my mind is we have been through a lot, like not just as a land, but personally. And that I think the best thing that we can do for our community right now is to find ways to catch our breath. Like we're emerging out of COVID, but we're bringing all of the stuff that we haven't even maybe processed yet with us. And so just to reach out to each other, check in, begin to heal, take it easy, breathe. Because I think that what we bring into the community can be that healing presence, shared love and grace. Volunteer opportunities will be, at the top of my head, we're garden. Clyde is the perfect person to reach out for that. Prairie School would be Dana. Sound system would be myself or John. Musicians would be Clyde. So there are point people for these, but those are the areas that popped into my head as the most urgent, perhaps. And then share with me your poems, your writings, your pictures. Share with your friends services or events on social media. Invite them to be a part of what's going on. Monthly giving helps us really plan. Gift donations. So there's an opportunity if it's somebody's birthday, if you want to memorialize somebody's memory, if you want to celebrate for Christmas or Easter, there is a button on our website that says gift donation or gift to the land. And I send people a card and sometimes a trinket, so to speak, saying, hey, a donation has been made in your honor for your birthday. Happy birthday on behalf of everyone from the land, just a nice handwritten letter. And we did the ornaments for Christmas. So that is the official Stephanie talking for 5 hours. And I'm gonna open it up for questions. First, I wanna close out all of the content with this poem that it's actually a prayer that came to me today. I didn't write it. Somebody read it to me in a meeting. So, John, I'm wondering if you want to read this for us.
Always by invitation, huh?
That was my invitation.
It helps now and then to step back and take a long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is even beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is a way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant the seeds that one day will grow. We will, gotta move something here. We water,
I'm good. How about you? Good.
water the seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces far beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there's a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for the Lord's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders, ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own.
Thanks, John. So I just want to give us some time to just, if you have questions, I may or may not be able to answer them, and there may be other people on this Zoom call that would be better fit to answer them than me, and I'll refer the questions to them. But also just kind of a sense of where you're at and what you're looking forward to. We'll have our Easter sunrise service on April 4th, and then we'll start gathering back in person on Saturdays. The garden is being redug up. It was dug but not quite deep enough, so there is a lot of movement and life awaiting us this spring.
I had this chance, maybe, go ahead.
That writing at the end there, Stephanie, was very profound. And talk about giving a sense of breath and a window of, I don't know, just a breath is what it just, I felt like, of this kind of acceptance that it's the journey and we're all in the middle of the journey. And that I think we just always have this sense of we must complete, we must get to wherever it is we think we're wanting. And so thank you for sharing that. That was in regards to the land, in regards to life, really profound to me.
I wondered about the community around the land, and it seems to be growing towards the land. And I think they're going to be more and more curious about who we are. And I wondered if we had any strategy, or if it was important to have a strategy to communicate our friendliness to the community, or how we do that. that big American flag really stands out. It's like, that's just by way of like an idea that I didn't expect an answer.
Clyde, did you want to say anything? Share anything?
I stepped away for a minute, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be sharing.
No, you're totally fine. I just didn't know you if you wanted to say anything about property development or the garden or Jesus. It's it's all open.
Well, I mean, first of all, I just realize, I just appreciate the heart of the community and the degree of cooperation and helpfulness that I find all around. And that is just wonderful. And I'm also inspired by when people come out and you can tell that they're not just there because, oh my gosh, this is volunteer stuff that we've got to do, but because they just enjoy being there. And we have people coming from not even, so really from other congregations that just want to be out at the land. And I think that's really a wonderful thing. There's a lot of stuff going on in property development. It's really pretty consistent with a 3-year plan we came up with a year ago. And we'll be needing a lot of help this summer and just try to make sure we communicate. I feel really good that we have a pretty strong property development team. And that's not to exclude anybody from being a part of that and bringing and even visiting and talking with that. But it's also a group of people who are very functional and helpful in getting this done. And so I think you'll see a lot of changes this summer, and we'll see a lot more people involved, and I'm just excited about that. And I'm excited to work with all of you. And it is, I just love your expression, Stephanie, that everything we do it basically has a spiritual focus. I think that is absolutely key in what has been done and what will continue to make this all work.
Are you going to be putting up more water platforms?
Not more platforms, as far as at least the plan currently is not to put up more platforms. But yeah, there are 5 more tanks up there. We have 6 more tanks. Right now, the plan is to put those 6 tanks at ground level and plumb them all together and to deliver to 12 tanks. And then when the tanks that are lifted up on the platform get empty, we'll have a relatively large pump that'll quickly pump up there. So instead of, and that will cut our deliveries in half, which saves an incredible amount of operational expense because it's really expensive to get water delivered. So that's, but if you go out there, there's more tanks already.
Okay.
I just wanted to maybe mention or invite everybody to kind of cherish where we are right now, because I don't, obviously none of us knows what's going to happen, how the land is going to be developed, what kind of what's going to be developed around the land. But even now, we can look back on the time before we had, the 3 cool tents that we have now, when we had, the little rickety 1 tent, or when we didn't even have that, when we had just the hay bales. And, we can look at those with a sense of nostalgia, I guess. And I think that's going to be true of where we are now. Well, I mean, obviously, we'll all remember the year that the year that went away, or whatever we're going to want to think of the COVID year as. And there's been blessings in this year as well. But I think that sometimes we get focused on looking towards the future and what possibilities that holds. But sometimes it's helpful to look at the present and see what joy and what blessings it's giving us. And I think like I say, that just don't take for granted, or don't spend today dreaming of what might be, but rather, taking in what is and being grateful for that.
Amen.
Well, I've taken up more than an hour of your time, and I don't want to kick anybody off, but I also don't want to hold anyone hostage. So is there anyone else who would like to share, or?
I'm gonna say goodnight. I know I've been in and out. I'm sorry. I'm managing kids and dinner and things like that. But we can't wait to get back to see everyone in person and have the kids back on the land. So this has been very nice. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, can't wait to see you back there. Is everybody ready for the snowstorm?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because Greg was in Arizona for the last snow.
Yeah, Greg, you should go back to Arizona real quick.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was a good time down there. It's beautiful.
It's funny because I brought the generator home because it hadn't been started in so long, and so I did all the annual maintenance on it and put new gas in, started it all up. It started up really well. And I was talking to Patty Jo, and I said, before Texas, I never worried about this.
Yeah.
But where will we be if we have a power failure? We have no source of heat. We have no source of cooking. I mean, we're just sunk. And she said, yeah, but you got a generator out in the garage.
Plus, you got body heat and a couple reserves. You're good.
Have a kerosene heater from Y2K.
Oh my God.
Brand new.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think Greg Huggin works well, I think.
Absolutely.
Mary Jane, do you want to introduce us to Bogey?
Yeah, this is Bogey. He is a 12-year-old poodle Shih Tzu mix. And he's ready to go to sleep.
Bogey.
So is he new to your family?
Yes. I had to
that's
put
awesome.
Benji down January 16th.
Oh, so sorry.
And this little guy's been rehomed, and he's just perfect. He is such a good dog.
Well, awesome. Can't wait to introduce him to our puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good with other dogs.
He's adorable.
Precious.
Good looking boy.
And we're sorry about Benji.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Rick, would you be okay closing us in prayer?
Sure. Thank you, Lord, for all of us being able to get together tonight to share our common love for the land and each other. Thank you for all of you and your passions and your commitment to the land and our Christ. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thanks, everyone. It was good to see you. Stay safe in the snow.
Good meeting.
Yes,
I love you
That's good.
guys.
love you all too.
Good night.
Good night. Stay safe.
See you guys.